He's a game-changing inventor, architect consulting the who's who of business and politics, a sculptor responsible for shaping the startup landscape across Europe. He's one of the most influential figures in the tech and startup world and nurturing over 700 startups as a business angel. He's advised CEOs, including the co-founders of iconic companies such as PayFit, Agricole, and Algolia. He's been a member of the Global Tech Panel, spoken at hundreds of conferences for CEOs and executive committees. He's a lecturer at SciencesPo in Paris, universities of Oxford, Cambridge, and London School of Economics. He's advised the French government on entrepreneurial policies, cybersecurity, and new global threats. In 2016, he was recognized in Forbes 30 Under 30. My next guest is the extraordinary Oussama Ammar, uncovering his secrets to success, his entrepreneurship, and his current passions in AI, Web3, and cryptocurrencies. I'm Jeremy Savory. Welcome to the CEO Hack. This is a show where we uncover the best success stories from industry leaders around the Oussama, brilliant to have you here.
Thank you
for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I want you to tell us more about these investments that you've been doing over the years, especially the time when you were in Silicon Valley. What was it like in Silicon Valley in those days?
Wow, I didn't speak about that since a long time. I arrived for the first time in Silicon Valley in 2009 because at that time I was running a company in France that I created, and we opened an office in Irvine, California. And so I arrived in the United States. For me, it was a big dream, like American dream, blah, blah, blah. And when I arrived in Irvine, why Irvine, California? Because at that time we had a partnership with University of Irvine. So we had our office there. I started to hear about Silicon Valley and San Francisco and the Bay Area, blah, blah, blah. So I started to spend weekends there and weeks there. And it was an amazing time because it was before Facebook IPO that will happen in 2012 or 2011. Not really sure about the year, but it was a time where the bubble of internet exploded. So companies were kind of more modest about their upcoming. Facebook was uprising. The first employee of Facebook were very accessible because it was not yet the giant company that it is now. And at that time, Silicon Valley was super, super open because it was so easy to meet anyone. Silicon Valley have this introduction culture where if you meet anyone, the first goal that this person will have will be like, who should I introduce you to? And then I discovered the secret pattern of introduction in Silicon Valley is that if someone loves you, he will try to intro you. So he will try to intro you to someone that is better than him, because it's like the currency of power in Silicon Valley. It's like, if I can introduce you to someone smart or someone you can do business with or someone you will appreciate, then you will remember it come from me. So it's like everyone,
pay it forward, right?
Yeah, pay forward. Then if the meeting is okay, person like you, but he's not really sure that he can get you up in his network, then he will introduce you to his equal. And if he really don't like you, but he will never tell you because it's American culture of everything is awesome, he will down intro you. He will intro you to an intern or a junior or someone he has power over, because then he doesn't care. He's a power broker. And so very fast when you arrive, you like at that time you meet any random person, and then you start to get introduced. And at that time I got up intro a lot because I had the story that people love in Silicon Valley. I created my first website when I was 12. I sold my first company when I was 16. So that was the kind of thing that were very common in Silicon Valley, but still very special coming from someone that grew up in a small village in France and not like a big city in the US. And because of that, a lot of people started to be very nice with me. And one of the most famous person I met in Silicon Valley, his name is Vivek Wada. He got nominated as one of the 25 most influential person in tech by Time magazine. And at that time, he was at the peak of his glory. And this guy met me, I will always remember, in a Starbucks. It was supposed to be a 15-minute meeting. We stayed 2 hours together. And I was like, how a guy like that is in the top 25 is taking time for someone like me. I was 21 years old. I was nobody. I didn't achieve that much. And these guys sit with me and advise me and give me like career advice and investment advice and things like he was my teacher or my friend or my father. To be honest, I don't really know. And he did it so genuinely that he really printed something on me where I was like, okay, I want this kind of attitude. And if one day I will be successful, I will still meet very upcoming people. And I think that's what makes Silicon Valley so special at that time, is that wherever you are in the social hierarchy, you always had the chance. You always had the chance to get feedback, to get help, to get this very, very specific philosophy. And I think that's why they won so big.
And this is, the opposite of probably Parisian or French business culture, right?
It's the opposite. I created a company in France called The Family where I tried to build this culture. After 10 years of running the company, it was a total failure. For 10 years, I tried to explain to entrepreneurs in France, pay it forward. And for 10 years, I failed miserably because French people are always like, pay forward in France is like, I do something for you, you give me something back. Mm. It's not the idea, I do something, I don't expect something back. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Because if you're always trying to find something back, then, it's like very rigid.
Well, it took you 10 years to do this. You're pretty stubborn, right?
I know. I arrived in France pretty late. I think it's, I spent my first 6 years in Africa, in Kinshasa. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
very interesting.
So I was born in Lebanon, raised in Kinshasa until very formative years. So I arrived with a bit of immunity in France.
And since then, you've been creating many businesses, or you've been involved in certain business. Right now, how many businesses are you an investor in?
So to be honest, I don't know. Because the funny thing is that, like you said, I invested in 100 startups. That was in 2013 when I started.
Yeah.
Now I think it's above 2,000. Very easy.
How do you keep track of all?
You don't keep track of it. And that's the goal with startups. You invest and forget, because you cannot keep track. The only way to find the startups is to do a lot of investment. Everyone that pretends that he has an ability to know that a startup will work is a liar. Nobody has this ability. And you are not defined by what you invest in, you are defined by what you miss, and it's really hard. And me, I had so many incredible misses in my life, and everyone in Silicon Valley have missed. I can tell you this story. I arrived in Silicon Valley. I was there like since 2 months. I took my first house in Sea Cliff. Sea Cliff in San Francisco it's a very fancy place near the Golden Gate Bridge, a bit European in the vibe, the most European vibes maybe in the city. And my neighbor is a very charming engineer, successful in a startup. And I talked to him, and one night we have some glass of wine together, and he's like, Oussama, never say no. I was like, what? Never say no. And then he become a bit dark. He's like, I said no to Google. I was like, what? He said, yeah, Google contacted me to be their 5th engineer. They offer me 2% equity of Google. And I said no. And you know what I told them? Who needs a search engine, seriously? And the guy spends 20 years of his life saying, I said no to Google. And everyone in Silicon Valley has a story like that. Everyone. Like, it's impossible to live in Silicon Valley and not having said no or criticize someone. And so it creates a culture where people are panicking about saying no.
It's very easy for VCs to collect money, right?
To be honest,
because everybody's saying yes.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah. The funny thing is that you can misprice. Like, VC as an asset class is very weird, because you can misprice every deal, but you will never misprice the portfolio. If your portfolio is big enough, you always end up with a company that pay for everyone else.
Well, the 95%.
Yeah, exactly. And so even if you misprice every investment you do, even if you go wrong and you don't have, if you are exposed enough, then you get. And so that's why what nobody understands about VC is that VC is not about selecting startups. VC is about being selected by startup. like everybody think that a VC is a guy that is like here that pretend to select. All of that is bullshit. The truth is that as a VC, you have to build a brand so incredible that everyone wants to get your money.
So the businesses that you're invested in, what kind of areas are you in? Is it crypto? Is it AI? Is it Web3? You know,
I did almost everything. When you're in startup industry, it's a bit like being in fashion industry. You follow trends. So in the 2010, it was marketplace. Then I had quite a success with a copy of Uber in France that's called Each, and it's big success. We invested in a company called Payfit that reached 1.9 billion valuation and doing payroll management system for France. You know how complicated payroll is in France. Then after that, we had like a big wave of consumer startup that all die. Consumer is really, really hard. It's really, really, really hard to do a successful consumer company. Then a lot of deep tech, robotics. I had a lot of success in medtech. So I was married for 5 years with an incredible doctor. And so I developed, like a sensitivity to medical problems. And I had the blessing of investing in incredible cancer detection startup, diagnosis startup, differential medicine startup. Like medicine is one of the field where you feel so good at investing, because if it works, you make money and save people. Like you cannot, it's like both.
It's a triple win.
It's
right?
a triple win. Yeah, it's a triple win. And now I'm obsessed about AI, like everyone, I suppose. And so I try to go as much, and we did a lot of fintech.
So this project that you did, the family, was that the same thing, to create a community, not just to pay it forward, but like-minded people that you could all, share opportunities with one another?
The simple thesis of the family was France is toxic for startups. Toxic in the sense that even if your startup should work, because the environment is toxic, then you will die. Even if you should have succeeded. That's what a toxic environment is. And France is toxic at 3 levels. It's culturally toxic because we don't have the right mindset to be entrepreneurs. We are too criticized forward. We are too stubborn. We try to prove to the world that our model are the best and not trying to find which model will work out. Too much vision driven and not enough market driven. So all of these cultural elements are toxic for startups. And then there is a structural toxicity. It's hard to do a company, hard to do accounting, hard to do your payroll, hard to do blah, 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 blah. And the last level, it's publicly led toxic because the tax authority are painful, government are too swinging, political environment is not stable. We cannot treat the political level, but we can create a bubble that will immune you from the 2 other level of toxicity.
So you were trying to get the critical mass, so that basically you could create a community that would resist these 3 different levels.
Exactly.
The thing is that I know from when I was in London, there's a huge French expat population there. I think it's like almost reached 1 million, 1 million people. And those French expats were saying the same things as you. It's like, I can't get anything done. It's anti-growth. And then you also have it in Lisbon now. You have a French population there. And those are the people who are just saying, look, I can't fight this system. I need to go where I can be wealthy.
True,
And I also note that you were invited as a lecturer on entrepreneurship at SciencesPo. SciencesPo is literally where the school of the future prime ministers and presidents they go to. So you were right there talking on entrepreneurship with the future heads of state.
Exactly. So I was trying to get them to change.
Go here.
I was trying to change their mind. It failed too.
Like so you really, once this doesn't work, you're like, you know what, this country is never going to change.
To be honest, I became a bit pessimistic.
I love the story you told me about the lockdown, where you were every day throughout all of lockdown for over a year, you had Michelin-starred chefs cooking in your apartment for you and a group of 10, 12,
we had 12 guests every day, different guests. We were
12 different guests every day, all the way through lockdown, and each time a Michelin-starred chef.
So I had 2 goals. My goal number 1 was to get Michelin-star chef that I love to come to cook in my home, because their restaurants were closed. And also I was very, very eager to give a chance to new generation of chefs that don't have a restaurant yet. And free chefs that pass through this kitchen will open a restaurant thanks to having cooked in my house for 1 week or 2 weeks and having meet people that became investor in the restaurant. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
And today they have their restaurants?
Today they have a restaurant in Paris, yeah.
Amazing.
Funny thing is that chefs were unemployed, but not only chefs. Musicians were unemployed. So we were doing private concerts. Decoration people from movies were unemployed. So we were bringing decoration to change the house. We did a Moroccan desert in the living room. We did a pool party with a fake pool inside the living room. We did Hawaiian jungle. We built a jungle in the living room. Yeah, to be honest, best time of my life.
And the problem is, I want to know who was there, how many people, and you can't tell me who was there. You can't say.
I mean, I will not give names, but everyone was there. Even member of the government came. Yeah, he was insane. Yeah, and there were a time where there was this scandalous with a guy. His name is Chalençon, that was doing the same thing, but he was making people pay. So he was a business. Me, I never made anyone pay. He was only paid by me. And on TV it was like big scandal, and I was watching that and knowing that the journalist doing this investigation came in my house to eat. And I think that's what created a big tension.
So you were in Forbes 30 under 30.
Yeah.
Is that the first time that you thought to yourself something like, now things are different?
No, I was famous way before.
Yeah.
So funny thing is that I have been locally famous all my life, because you have to imagine that in the small town where I grew up, the press was talking about me when I was a teenager, because like I was doing website and things, like my life was already crazy. And at that time already a lot of people were not believing what I was doing.
Yeah.
So they were like, yeah. And then it just increased. So then I became Paris famous, then I became France famous, then I became European famous.
And you're online famous.
Now online famous.
You're very prolific online with you.
And so at Forbes 30 under 30 was more like, so I'm happy that I did the American list and not the French list, because Forbes 30 under 30 in France is less impressive than to be in the global list. But to be honest, I received the notification. I didn't care. I didn't even go to the party or the summit, and I just continued with my life. It was not I had like, there is recognition where you feel like, wow, if you get a Nobel Prize, I think that Forbes under 30. And by the way, I know why I got in this list. It's because my PR was very expensive and good. This list is a thing you buy.
Yes.
If you have the right PR and you are in the right agency, then they fight for you. And again, another big thing that everybody pretend it's prestigious, but everybody insider know it's not. So the people on the outside, they know that it's not. So, you know, it's... For example, a real recognition that I got, and that's what I was proud. And the funny thing is that nobody talk about it, is that I was member of the Global Tech Panel. So the Global Tech Panel is a group that have been created by European defense minister to advise her about AI, warfare, cybersecurity, and all the challenge of the future. And as a member of the Global Tech Panel, I did a G20 of defense, and I had to brief 20 ministers of defense about AI 4 years ago. And that was a real moment of proudness in my life. I was in a room where I can do the difference, change a bit the course of time in a favor of something that I believe in. It's 1 million times bigger for my personal life than Forbes 30 under 30.
Because it's funny, it's like you're very prolific online with your views on things, and really very amazing, and I really enjoy watching it. But for you, you don't do it for the same reason other people do it, which is, I want to be famous, I want the recognition, this. For you, you're motivated and stimulated by other things. So what is it that makes Oussama Ammar happy? What is your weakness?
So I love to learn things. The reason why I give so much speech is that each time I give a speech, I learn about something. It's my way of learning. The public recognition never interested me. I had both, you know, I had public humiliation and public love, and they feel both the same for me. When everybody loved me, it was like, yeah, okay, thank you. And when everybody hated me, I was like, yeah, thank you. Still don't matter. And I think that's why I was not so depressed when I became a meme and people made fun of me. Because at one moment, all this video on YouTube became sort of a way of making fun of me. But I was like, yeah, sure. It's the power of internet. You know, one day they love you, one day they hate you, then they love you back, then they think they change their mind, but they talk about you, but it doesn't really matter for you. So for me, what really, really matters is the two power of visibility. First, you get incredible access to people, and to people that you will not meet otherwise. Like you are a very good example of that. We met in the airport because you watch because you watch my video, and you came to tell me, oh, and then you tell me what you do, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. I'm interested by that. So you get this VIP treatment by the smart people, not VIP treatment because you are a celebrity and you go in a hotel and they upgrade you. That doesn't matter. It's really the VIP treatment by celebrities. And sometimes, like recently, I was in France in a restaurant, and a guy stopped. This guy has $1 billion company. Never met him. I know him, of course, because of his success. And he stopped. He said, "Hey, I just want to tell you, I'm watching your videos since 10 years. I learned so much in this video that are part of my success, and I want to say thank you. Can we do a picture together?" And you are like, okay, that's what I work for, is that I learn things in public, and these things has impact on people that do incredible things. And my obsession is the smart people. I don't care, like this celebrity with random people that, you know, just watch your video because you are famous, but that doesn't interest me, never interested me, and I think I'm totally immune to that drive.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that you're immune, but also you're ambivalent. Like you don't care. Like nothing plus ça change. You know, like doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, the good and the bad. But for me, you're already thinking about something else.
Exactly.
But what it is a means to an end.
Yeah.
Which is if I get to meet other people that will stimulate me mentally, then in the end, this is what I live for.
Exactly. Learning is my obsession.
Learning is your obsession.
Like if I learn, but even small things, you know. I will tell you this story. It's like when I was taking Uber in Paris, I was taking Uber a lot, and in London, and drivers love to talk. And to be honest, there is moments you don't want to talk. You know, you are in your mind. But then one day I was like, okay, let's change your mindset. You cannot resist to something that is real. It's one of my philosophy, is that reality is always stronger than you. So they want to talk. What can you do to make this a moment that is good for you and good for them? So each time I get in a Uber and I see the person want to start to talk with me, I always say, look, I don't want to chit chat. So you know, really cut. But I want to know what is the most crazy story that happened in your car. And then I started to love to take Uber, because each time the guy will tell me a story that I cannot even imagine that it was real, and it was so cool, and then so many, and I started to have so many anecdotes in my mind that look so cool.
That's actually one of my questions. Yeah. What's the craziest thing someone has ever said to you? Like literally here, question number one, craziest thing I've said to you, because those are the reasons that immediately when I met you, and it was crazy. We were in an airport in Warsaw. I was like, are you that guy? Yeah, I'm good. This is what I do. Okay, let's go. Let's meet. We have dinner. We come here. And, but I know that you have great stories. I mean, you know, I have a few as well, but, what is the craziest thing? Two things. What's the craziest story? And what's the craziest thing everyone's ever said to you?
During COVID, I told you I had a lot of chefs, but it's only one part of the story. The second part of the story is that I was doing that half time, and the other half, I was traveling the world. Because for me, it was the best moment to travel. First, because it was so easy to travel private. It was so cheap. And it was also so easy, actually, to travel if you knew how to handle the paper, blah, 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 and, you know, finding your way around. And I'm good at finding my way around. So I did crazy things. For example, I had a dinner in the Coliseum alone with a girl at night. But I visited the Vatican empty. I have picture of myself inside the Chapel 16 because I arrived at Vatican. It was closed during COVID. I gave a tip to the guy at the entry, and I visited Vatican empty. And I have, you know, that it's not allowed to do picture in Chapel 16. I have picture of myself with a girl in Chapel 16 kissing. Yeah, no, it's totally true. But so I'm with this girl. We are in Rome. I say, let's go to Maldives. We go to Maldives. We spend 2 weeks in a hotel alone in Maldives. And another girl tell me, I'm in Tulum, big party here. You should come. So we do Maldives, Abu Dhabi, Amsterdam, Mexico City, Tulum. Okay. And just before taking the plane, it's a very important part of the story. I do a bet with this girl, and I tell her, if you lose, you have to do the travel naked in a unicorn pyjama. You know this? Yeah. So you have this very sexy girl in a unicorn pyjama, naked, that do all this travel because she lost a bet. We arrive in Mexico. I give my passport. She give her passport in same time. And they are like, oh, secondary check. I'm used to secondary check. My name is Oussama. I always have secondary check. So I'm not stressed. She's a bit stressed. She never had that in her life. I'm like, don't worry, it's okay. We arrive in a room. We end up with this nasty Mexican woman. She's like, what are you doing here? I say, holiday. And she's like, and she looks at the girl and she's like, what do you do? She says, I'm a doctor. She's like, you're a doctor. You know, she's in unicorn pyjama. Yeah, and me, I'm the Queen of England. And then she looked at me and she's like, what do you do? I'm an entrepreneur. Ah, yeah, you don't have a real job. Oh, like, okay, if you want, you know. She's like, do you have money on you? And me, I don't understand that at that moment. But she's asking me for a bribe. But she's like, do you have cash? I'm like, no, I don't have cash. You're sure you don't have cash on you? I'm like, no, I don't have cash. Okay, don't move. Then she come, she stamp our things, jail. And I end up in a cell with this girl in the women prison of the airport and me in the men prison. 35 people, 12 beds. Light on 24 hours. No phone, no shoes, nothing. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? You know? Then I'm like, okay, I had a lot of secondary check in my life. That's the first time something like that happened. So I'm like, okay, I wait like 5 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours. And I'm like, okay, I cannot stay here. So I start my investigation. I start to ask everyone in the cell how long they are here. 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 months. I'm like, fuck. They can keep me here for weeks without anything. It makes no sense. So I say, okay, I remember Prison Break. And in one episode of Prison Break, he said that the only person that has authority on the guard are the doctor. So I start to pretend that I'm doing an asthma panic attack and that I need a medicine that is in my phone. The prescription is in my phone. And so I should show my phone to the doctor to get access to my phone. And I start to do that and nobody come. And then I start to panic for real because I'm like, fuck, if something really happened for me, they are going to let me die. And so I start to really have breathing problem and my heart start to go so fast that the guy come out and they call the doctor. The doctor arrived, put my thing, and my heart is like at 200 something. And it's like, what the fuck is happening? This guy is doing and I say, yeah, I need my prescription, blah, blah. And the guy is like, give his phone. And the guy's like, no policy of not giving phone. And the guy, like, they fight, like in Prison Break, and they give my phone. So I was like, oh, that TV show had a good advice. Then he give my phone, and you know, on iPhone, you can type without typing. You know, you can do with your finger, sign like that. Yeah. So I open the mail app, and so I pretend that I'm looking for a document, but I'm actually sending a message to my assistant. And at that time, I was a member of the Global Tech Panel. And so I tell my assistant, call this guy at the French presidency, this girl at the French presidency, and call this guy at the European Union to tell them I'm in jail in Mexico and they have to get me out and it's a mistake and I have no reason to be here. Then I send the message, I get back to my seat. 5 hours, 10 hours, 24 hours go, and the next day I see 5 guys with like big, looking like that through the windows and showing me. They asked me to go out, and they are like, okay, we don't know who you are, but everyone called us. The French presidency called, the European Union called, everybody called, like, who the fuck are you, you know? I was like, yeah, no problem, just get me out. Say, yeah, we cannot get you out. Why you cannot get me out? Yeah, you know, you don't have the right criteria to get inside Mexico, so we send you back to Amsterdam. So, okay, I take that. Sending back to Amsterdam is fine. So they take my girlfriend, they take me, put me in a plane for Amsterdam. By the way, economy class, we came in business class, at least they can have put us back in business class. And we are sent back to Amsterdam. And when we arrive in Amsterdam, the police is at the gate and checks the COVID test of the people. And I'm like, fuck, they didn't do a COVID test. And our COVID test is expired. So I go to see the police and say, look, I'm sorry, I don't have a COVID test. I explain the situation. They refuse me. And, you know, it's not a very comfortable explanation to tell a policeman that you get arrested in the country and sent back. The guy is so nice. He's like, yeah, happen all the time with Mexico. We don't know why they refuse random people like that. So they take us in a room and say, you cannot do your COVID test now. You have to stay in this room in the airport because the lab open tomorrow and you will do the test. So 2 days travel, 3 days in Mexico, still exactly the same clothes, the naked pyjama. And we are waiting in a room to wait for our COVID test. We go to do the COVID test the next day. And they tell us, we cannot give you the result now. We need to wait 24 hours more. So we wait 24 hours in the airport. And then there is nothing open. Like the restaurant of the airport are closed. Everything is closed. And they say, okay, we have a problem. We know that your test is negative because in the computer it's written is negative. But we lost your paper and we cannot print it in the system. We have to do a new test to get a print. I'm like, are you serious?
What have I done in my life to deserve this?
You know? Yeah. And they are like, yeah, we are sorry. But the good news is that we know it's negative. You can go out of this little room and go around in the airport. So a unicorn and a Lebanese guy in the airport. It's our 6th day since it started. And we go around. I find a woman that is cleaning. And I tell her, I know the lounge, the business class lounge is closed. But look, we are so dirty. I will give anything for a shower. Tell me your price. And open me, please, the business class lounge so I can get a shower. You know, she's date 100, 200, 300, 300. She's like, okay, fuck it, you know. It's like, so she brings us to the business class lounge, open it. We go to the shower. And the girl that I'm with since 6 days, so this girl, I know her only since 2 weeks. We start to be very, very close. And she go to a shop that she saw that sell ritual essential.
Yeah.
She buy candles, things like that. And we build inside the shower like a spa. And we do a spa thing. We have a shower, we wash ourselves, we have a massage, blah, blah. And then I'm like...
And you're the only people in the business lounge in Amsterdam airport.
Yeah. And then I'm like, you know what? My clothes are dirty. I had a yoga pant. I'm going to wash it. And then we wait a few hours and I dress it. And then I start to wash my pant. And when I start to do that, the pant open. And I don't have any underwear because I dropped the underwear in the trash. And I end up here with a hole without any shop open in the airport. And I'm like, it cannot be.
You mean your trousers?
Yeah,
Oh,
my pant.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And so you have to imagine that I put myself like that to
All the shops are closed in the airport.
all the shops are closed in the airport. I'm like that to the unicorn, and we walk like that in the airport to go to the terminal of the police.
Oh my God.
To go to the terminal of the police to ask them if they have a solution for me. We call the police, we show them the problem, and I will always remember this police guy that look at me is like, it's not your week, huh? So then they start to brainstorm, like what can we do to help them, blah. And the guy's like, you know what? There is a shop not far. It's closed, but the guy is inside the shop because he doesn't want to stay home. And they sell Heineken underwear. We can go there and buy Heineken underwear. And so we go there. We stay 2 days in the airport waiting the COVID test. They give us the COVID test. And then we go to enter France because she's Schengen. And I tell the girl, look, you go in the airport first, and then I go. She gave a passport, stamp, get inside.
She's still dressed as the unicorn.
Yeah, still dressed as a unicorn. Then I give my passport to get inside Schengen zone. And they say, no, you cannot go in. I was like, what? So yeah, yesterday France published a law saying that even if you are French, you cannot get back in France during this lockdown. I'm like, are you serious? Like, this is French. Even if I go to the airport in Paris, they will not refuse me. They do law, they don't apply them. And the Dutch policemen look at me and say, why anyone will do that? I'm like, yeah, it's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to explain. So then I'm like, okay, so what do I do? Say, you go somewhere else than Schengen. Then the girl come back in the international zone. We look the screen, and we found Turkey. Turkey, you can go with a Russian passport without visa. And we are like, oh, it's going to be fun, blah. So we go to Istanbul. We arrive in Istanbul. And the moment we land, we arrive at the Shangri-La. And they say there is 7 days lockup in the room. And we get locked up. So all in all, I will spend 3 days in prison, 6 days in the airport, and 7 days watching a wall in a room, just to be able to go back in France. Yeah.
That is amazing.
That was a very, very funny story.
And you've got all these photos and all this stuff.
Yeah.
This is just.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, I think the.
So that was my. You see, when I tell you everybody wants a crazy life, but sometimes you pay the price.
I don't want to have that crazy life.
So I had a crazy life during COVID. I traveled to place, blah. But when the system get back at you, you get a lot of shit in the head. Yeah. That was a yeah, I think it's the most crazy story of my life. Yeah.
That's a very crazy story. That is unbelievable.
Yeah. I even get when it was happening to me, I was posting it on Instagram live, step by step. And I even got a ping from a HBO producer that he was like, I want to produce a movie of this story. Yeah.
That's amazing. Where do you spend your money?
So I have a very, very unorthodox philosophy about money. So for me, I recognized very long time ago in my life that I have 3 risks. Risk number 1 is that I'm getting sick, and so sick I cannot work. Risk number 2, I die, and there are so many people around me that depend on me, and they are left alone without anything, and it's hard. And risk number 3 is that at one moment, the global situation becomes so crazy that I need to change country or things like that, and I need to rebuild myself. So risk number 3, I evaluate that I need 6 months to recover. So I try to build up an account I don't have access to with not internet banking, like a stash where I put 6 months, and that's my recover fund. if something happen, need to change country, blah, I know that is there. Then risk of sickness and dying, I took very good insurance that I pay very expensive. So if I die, my family receive $10 million. And it's put in, and I did a process, like it's put in a trustee that manage the money for them so they don't overspend, and give them in period of grief, help them on the financial side so nobody at least has this problem too much. And if I become that sick that I cannot work, I have an insurance that give me $30,000 a month. I built this insurance customly in Switzerland 20 years ago. I pay them every year. It's the most important payment of the year. And because of that, for me, I took off risk in my life. And so the only thing now I need to manage is my retirement, like when I will be old and I need money to live. So for that, I have only one asset class, startups, because startups are so good for me. You put money inside, it takes 10 to 20 years to become big, and you forget it. It's not liquid, so you cannot go in or go out. And so even if I need money, I cannot take out. So that's my pension fund. So when I receive money, I always try to take 25% of this money upfront and invest it in startup. And it's long-term investment. And then everything else, I spend it in lifestyle.
But that's, I think in terms of personal finance planning, that's probably one of the best strategies I've ever heard.
Yeah. The story is that I was 18, 19 years old, and I had my first money. And everybody was like, yeah, you have to put in real estate, and that like that you get rent. And I was like, but how? So it means that a part of my mind will be dedicated to know if he pay rents or not, if he will. I was like, what? Are people crazy? And then they say, I remember when I was 21, I put in bonds and stock, and I was literally like that in front of the screen all day long, and I cannot take my mind out. And it was going up, and I was feeling good, and down, and I was feeling miserable, and up and down, and I was selling when it's down and buying when it's up. And I was like, how people survive this? And then I was like, okay, I don't want any of that. I just want tranquility of mind. And
I think for you is that the one thing that keeps you going and keeps everybody going is the brain, right? It lets you breathe, it lets you pump blood, but it also lets you generate money for today, for tomorrow, and so on.
Exactly.
And this has a finite capacity, right? So, and you know that your business or your businesses that you're investing in, that you need to keep the bandwidth as focused as possible on those things.
Exactly.
So other things which are trivial, small things, minor things that are distracting for you are a distraction. So you need to block them out. And this is why you don't do this. When we were on the plane, I noticed that you travel a lot. I travel a lot, and I always want to start asking people is like, what is the little tip or the little travel hack that you have, which you've done from so many trips that you would give to one person, one piece of advice, that something you always pack or something you always do?
Buy miles on the black market and never fly outside first class. Because it's so easy to buy miles. There is a big market of miles of people that have Amex and they never use the miles and they sell it to brokers. There's many miles brokers, and you always have, like, airline company are fucking us up with yield management since years. The problem with complex system,
especially one airline, I won't say the name.
Yeah, but the funny thing with complex system is that you can fuck them up back. So there is always one trick, and there is one website I love is One Point Guy or Point Guy or
The Points Guy.
The Points Guy.
Yeah.
I learn everything from here. Get miles, get upgrade, leave first class to the price of economy class, and that's the best tip, because first class experience is the best experience you can have in any airline, and it's actually very accessible. You don't need to spend 15,000 on each ticket.
When you travel, do you take movies or do you take books? And if you do, what's your favorite movie?
So the funny thing is, me, I put myself in a plane. The plane do that, I sleep. The plane do that, I wake up. I cannot keep my eyes open in a car or a plane.
I'm the opposite. I can't sleep.
I can sleep. No. So for me, and this is why I always take night flight, because first class I sleep and I'm good, and I go back to my life.
So for what books would you recommend for?
So I like to read books a lot. I have a theory about books is that it's so much better to read the books you like than the books you should like. And the problem is that people don't try enough bad genre. And there is so many, like, for example, there is a genre I love is books where you are the hero, you know?
Okay.
It's teenager book. But the funny thing is that these books are so much more fun to read than any business book or philosophy book or blah. And I think it's true about so many things in life is that people want to do what looks great and not what feels great for them. So, for example, they want to live in a posh neighborhood, but they prefer the vibe of living in middle city with a lot of restaurant bar. And so there is this mismatch between what people think people should do with their money and what you should actually do to feel good. And if you can cut this social filter, then you can discover a lot of things. For example, I had a passion at one moment for a woman erotic book. Nobody will never recommend you woman erotic book, but they're actually great. Like, 50 Shades of Grey became the most. Yeah. But actually on Amazon, there is a full section of that. And they are very entertaining to read. I love to read biography of non-famous people. That's a genre that is very interesting. Is that
just a normal person?
Yeah, there is
about their life.
Yeah, there is so many of them on Amazon, and sometimes you find a gem, and it's always cool to read about the story of someone. It's never uninteresting, and it's so much better than when you read the life of Bill Clinton. I don't know what people think they get inspired by. It's like, thank you for that. But when it's a random CEO of a company in like recently, I wrote the story of Rwanda.
Yeah, the country.
The CEO of a random company there, quite successful, and it took a guy who wrote a book about his life. The stories are amazing. Like the guy is like, I didn't know how to write and read, so I didn't know how to do my first contract. You're like, what the fuck? That's inspiring. After you're like, okay, my problems are small. So you should be inspired by this, and I read the biography of Obama. It's one of the best books I ever read, the memoir of Obama. But it's the same. I don't know, what do you want to be inspired by that? The guy has a life that you cannot relate to.
Yeah, no, I agree. So in your lifestyle and in your career, I think the two for you are quite close, right? Your lifestyle is your career, and your career is your lifestyle. Like
exactly.
You enjoy what you do, and it is who you are.
Yeah.
But there's been highs and lows.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest high? What's been the lowest low?
So the biggest low, it's very obvious. I know it. It's so when I left the family, I got a lawsuit from my ex-partner of money embezzlement. They said that I stole 3 million from the company, and they got a freezing order of all my account, all my assets in the world. So
I know this story. This is the one that you told me about your partner.
Yeah.
Tell me this one.
So basically, what happened is that I've been partner for 10 years. And when I decided to left, we wanted to solve some of the folders and things, and we started to take a very, very, very stubborn approach. We had a very flexible management for years, and one day they became very strict to the line, and they took lawyers and they did PR, and they really tried to destroy my reputation. And so there were one very specific moment where I was in Dubai because I wanted to live here before this story. I was like, all my credit card, all my bank account got froze in the day. There were like 100 articles written about me saying that I stole money from the company. And of course, imagine the sensationalist way of telling the story. Like literally, I took the money bag,
the dollar bills.
Yes, dollar bills, and I was in Dubai, because French journalists love this story. That this is why I left Dubai to hide the millions I stole, and the only hotel room I was able to pay was $50 a night. And I took some money from friends and so I was at the minimum of my cash burn. And I remember I was in this room, and I called this room the sad room. You know, it was dirty, it was smelly, it was really, really bad. And I said to my friend, okay, how long do you think it will take me to get out of this room? Like, is it going to take me 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, like to make money, to get back on my feet, blah. And it literally took me 3 weeks. And I was, and after 1 year, I was back to the level when I left the family, and now I'm even above in 2 years, and I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that against all odds, all things, I got that. And I think the highest moment of my life is that I received a very big institutional investment. And that moment was very happy for me because it was a big validation of the work we did. And it's very funny because all my life I was imagining that receiving this kind of big institutional recognition makes you happy. And that's where you see the high are so bad, because you get a shot, and then you're like,
You lose your head, I guess.
nothing changed. Not even you lose your head. You don't even have time for that.
Yeah.
Because to lose your head, you need a constant. Like, for example, you become a rock star, and every time you go out of your room, there is a 5 naked girl waiting. Like, of course, after years, you lose your head.
Yeah. But for you, the next day is just the next day.
Yeah, but this kind of news, you receive the wire, and then you're like, fuck, I need to give back the money now. And so you're like, actually, I'm in debt. Because everybody always celebrate fundraising.
Yeah.
But fundraising is debt.
Yeah.
Because, okay, it's not a debt in the legal term, but now you need to give 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the money.
Now you have a boss.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. And I was like, why you did that? So it was not a longer high.
Yeah, it's a very short high.
No.
So, you know, look, you're doing something which I can tell you probably off the top of my head, every teenager or a guy in his 20s is going, you know what, I want to do that. I want to be a VC. I want to be investing in startups. I want to be in tech and all this stuff. You're actually living the life of what I would say most of the online community is saying, you know what, I want to be doing this. Is it as glamorous as these people think it is? Because I don't think it is as glamorous as it looks like.
No, it's not. But, you know, everybody wants the life, but nobody wants to pay the price. And every very nice life has a big price. Everybody wants to be an actor in Hollywood, but nobody wants to be harassed, judged on very nasty things, get your reputation in your private life in public shredded like it's nothing. So people always want the upside, but they never want to sign for the downside. My life, the downside is a constant level of risk that most people cannot handle, and a level of stress that will make everyone crazy. The funny thing is with me, I sign for that because, and sometimes I'm worried about that, is that in this period where I was in this room with nothing on my bank account, my eyes and my brain was so happy. I was so sharp. I was in this really, it's kind of survival mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I feel that everything goes so fast in my brain. And I love this sensation. I'm addicted to this sensation. Sometimes I'm worried to be addicted to this sensation because this is why I'm always taking more risk and more risk. And I was reading the new biography of Elon Musk. And in this biography, there is a kind of explanation of why he bought Twitter. It's because he was boring.
He was bored.
Yeah.
So in his life, he was like, I have nothing else. Like, I've done SpaceX, I've done the satellite, I've done the boring company.
It's not written like that, but I don't know why I felt it like that. Because there's one sentence. He say, yeah, there's no chaos around. Let's create a bit of chaos. And I understand so much that energy. So Elon Musk did that energy to the toppest level. I'm a very small player, you know?
I don't know. I also think that there's a little bit of it, which is if you look at history, and if you look what's going on now, you see when you reach a certain level, multimillionaire, billionaire, you need control, you need access, and that's why a lot of these big guys, they generally invest in media organizations.
Sure,
right?
but you can have bought
Wall
Twitter.
Street Journal,
You can have bought Twitter in a very different way.
Yeah.
You can have just invest 20% of Twitter, like a billionaire, get access, buy a bit of New York Times and Washington Post. Well, the guy buy Twitter, fire 80% of the people, took a lot of debt, tried to become a financial and dating app. Yeah, it's not a billionaire strategy. It's really a chaos-driven guy, and I understand that because I have the same feeling, and I think that's why most of the people don't think they want this life, but they don't.
What advice would you give to those people?
So if you really want this life, I think the best thing is to always take a shortcut. So for example, I have a lot of young people that come to tell me, yeah, I'm going to work in private equity or investment bank, and then I will invest in startup after. No, if you want to invest in startup, invest now. Okay, you don't have money, but you can start as low as 1,000 euro in a company you find. Me, if I was 20 years old and I want to become an investor in startup, I will go in Silicon Valley. I will try to meet people that nobody wants to invest on. I will try to meet as many people, find a talented team that is before pre-seed, put $1,000 of my money, only 1,000, everyone can find and save 1,000. I will do it 10 times and I will show track record. And if only one of these companies became successful, then it's done. Your life and reputation is done. Instead of that, people always think reputation comes because someone give it to you. But it's not. So they are like, oh yeah, let's go to be friend with this billionaire and he will give me access and blah. No, you never give access to anyone. You can be friend with billionaires, you know that. And then nothing changes in your life because everybody's like, yeah, okay, you're a friend of, but I want to talk to this guy.
One thing I've noticed is that multimillionaires and billionaires would always find time to give advice to younger people. Yeah. If anything motivates them more, that's this. They will always try to do it because they can get anything they want. There's no shortage of options. They can enjoy their money in their life, but they will always try to help other people. It's something I noticed. Doesn't matter nationality, doesn't matter, your business industry, it doesn't matter, but they will always try to do this. What's your biggest regret?
My biggest regret, I don't have many regrets because every mistake I did are part of who I am. But I think I have more personal life regret than business regret. Sometimes I wish I would have been better with people I loved, and so that's the only part of my life where I have small regrets. But to be honest, I really try to not be defined by my past and to be as present as possible. Like, I really believe that whatever you did, whatever you are, you can always become better and you can always become someone new. And I know that people love to define you by what you did, but it defines you less than what you want. The real muscle is what you want. Are you able to really desire something really, really burning? And people underestimate the power of desire. Like, everyone talk about so many abilities, but the real abilities is you want something, you are hungry of something, like it's burning inside you. And that's when I was a kid, I was like 9 years old and I saw François Mitterrand doing an interview on TV. He was a French president at that time. And I remember the journalist was El Kabash or something like that, and El Kabash said, is it hard to become president? And Mitterrand, he had like this very, very, deep style, like, and he's like, oh, it's very easy. You just need to want it. And the journalist laughed. He's like, yeah, of course, but. And then Mitterrand just don't even reply to his question. He's like, yeah, you didn't understand my answer. Go fuck yourself. Like, give me another question. And me, I remember I was 8 or 9 years old, not understanding this moment. Anyway, I was not really understanding what is happening. And I was 18 years old, and I was talking with a friend, and my friend was like telling me, oh, you cannot do that. Why you will do that? Because I want it. And so if I want it, I will find a way. And then I got to click in my mind, and I remember that moment. And that moment I was like, fuck, he's right. Of course it's easy to be president because nobody's crazy enough to want it. If you want it, you become it. Because wanting something so bad for your personal life, so bad for your family, so bad, it's so insane. But of course there is no competition.
This is very good, but this is also why the story that goes around that basically the most successful CEOs are narcissists.
Yeah.
They're sociopaths, that they will just do whatever it will take to get to that point.
Yeah.
And to,
That's true.
and that's it.
That's true. No, but that's totally true.
But you're not a narcissist.
No, but I will not be
Not all
the
the time.
not all the time. But I think I'm the worst kind of narcissist in the way that I really believe that what I want matter than what anyone wants. That's sometimes
This is
that's
something you'll find at the top level of success in anything. Can be in sport, can be an actor, can be in business. But in the end, it's like you have something that will just make you keep on going when everyone else would just give up. It's a thirst, it's a hunger, it's a desire. And the one that you mentioned about when you're at your lowest point, that your body just switched into survival mode.
Yeah.
I've been in that moment.
Yeah.
And I 100%, that is the time where you're the most dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there you're not even thinking rationally.
No.
Now you find an energy which is not there because we're comfortable. We are human beings. We enjoy comfort.
Exactly.
But when you're at the point where you're in discomfort and you know that it's now or never, this is a time that you will just, become something out of control.
Yeah.
This is when you become very dangerous. And you see, within 1 year, you got back what took you 10, 15 years.
10 years to be.
Because you just became something else.
Yeah.
And this is, so I wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you.
As you take over the world. But listen, Oussama, it's been great having you here. I love your stories. I think we're going to have to see you again because I know in a year's time, you're going to have a lot more stories.
Pleasure.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.